All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Thanksgiving Friday, November the 26th edition of the Alpha Mint AM show. I am your host, R2DGen, formerly known as Cloud Cobain, and I am joined with me by the man with the theory that coffee runs the world, Mr. Free Market Capitalist.
Hey now.
Hey, now, how's your morning going? How was your Thanksgiving Thursday down in America?
Lovely food was the name of the day. Family, of course. It's great. My partner Panushi's coming back today. We were with different family members this year. So this is good. I had a great time, and NFT market is doing its thing as crypto. Woo, not a good look.
Yeah, a lot of people woke up this morning to some dire straits on the crypto markets, but again, well, why don't I just pull that up and then lead into it? Looking at CoinGecko, Bitcoin is down to 54,000. I have firmly lost my gentleman's bet with Shubang about Bitcoin never being 56,000 before 100,000. So I'll take a giant L on that one. Ethereum, not as bad as it looks. It's still up 1.2% on the week. It's down 9% in the last 24 hours, but it did have that kind of self-contained pump yesterday, so it's kind of deceiving in that, but it is holding above 4,000, which is pretty encouraging, honestly.
For
um,
those keeping score, we did hit 39.15 overnight. We do have a ton of support at 3,800. Um, and there's a funny joke going around crypto Twitter right now, like, "Ooh, you just told everybody at Thanksgiving dinner to finally buy crypto,"
yeah.
and then they wake up the next morning to this. Well, I've been talking about how we needed a sentiment reset. And so far, everyone's just been like, oh, orderly pullback. It's fine. Consolidation. That's not a sentiment reset. Maybe we're going to start to get that now. I think there's a lot of support near these price levels, especially 3,800 on Ethereum. So no reason to panic until there's a daily close under those levels.
Yeah, it is really funny, especially like coming out of COVID. A lot of people are having their first Thanksgiving in a while, or like first family get together. At least that's how it was in Canada. But yeah, with crypto being the kind of the talk of probably the last 10 months or whatever, anybody invested in it, you get those questions. How are the coins doing, dear? And yeah, you were probably pretty high on it yesterday, and you might be getting a lot of text messages from your relatives going, "I told you it was a scam." But you know
Wake
what?
up, honey. We have
Yeah.
news.
Um,
What?
looking at it, it is a pretty sharp drop. It was quite a big dump, but when you start to zoom out on it, the 7 day, it's slightly below the rest of the lows on the 7 day. 14 day, it almost looks like it's trading sideways with some pretty big peaks and valleys. You go 30 day, and it's just another one of those drops. You go 90 days, and it looks like everything is a-okay. So a little bit of
I
perspective
always
is
say.
always in order.
I always say if your chart looks bad, just zoom out.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a joke, but yeah, it's the larger time frames are still intact, so this is uncomfortable, but there's no reason for panic yet.
Sure, yeah. You know what? Actually, Jack Butcher has some really good visualizations on stuff like that too, where it's really good for really really simple images, putting things into perspective. Um, Not sure if you follow him on Twitter.
I don't. I'm gonna drop his profile in the AM show chat.
Yeah, yeah, he does a thing called visualize value. He does turn some of them into NFTs and sell them and whatnot. He's simplistic in his art, but very poignant narratives on stuff. So
Nice.
I like him. I will drop that. Moving into some news from yesterday and this morning, the Bank of England raises concerns over El Salvador's Bitcoin embrace. Again, I'm going to classify this as bullish news. This is another group of old white people that are, hanging on to the last thread of their wealth, and they see change coming, and they are more than happy to FUD it. So, I mean, I don't know how much in depth you've looked into this, but again, it just seems like one of those top 10 regimes in terms of fiat currency kind of doing their thing to hold on to the value of their currency.
Yeah, absolutely. And, El Salvador is a small country in GDP terms and obviously doesn't affect, global trade in any large way, but it's the contagion effect that countries who are basically global reserve currencies like the pound and the dollar, which is the global reserve currency, they're obviously threatened because if this contagion sweeps through smaller countries, it it can obviously lead to bigger revolutions, which do threaten the status quo. So
Well, and
this
here's
is
oh, sorry, keep
go
going.
ahead. No, I was just going to say this is something we want. We don't want it to be violent in terms of revolutions. We would much more want it to be seething into society seamlessly, kind of as we're doing now, to the point where it's just there. So that's, I think it's a good thing
Well,
for crypto.
my take on this too is that there's going to be some legitimate concern about the concept of voting with your feet, right? You can vote for your politician in your local riding, or the most powerful vote you have is voting with your feet. It is scary to a lot of these larger developed countries that some of these other countries are adopting this as national currency, because obviously so much wealth has been created in Bitcoin and Ethereum and crypto in general, that if they don't start treating it favorably, a lot of their very newly wealthy citizens may actually just leave for greener crypto pastures, right? And that is concerning to them. And they're trying to fud the crypto before that gets out of control. But I mean, it's the cat's out of the bag already.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, money isn't created out of thin air. It's transferred from elsewhere. And this is the largest wealth transfer from old to young in history. The baby boomer generation controls more wealth than any other generation has. They're also larger. And crypto is how the transfer is happening from old to young. And that's, another reason you see a lot of this backlash now, that it's becoming a real threat for governments and central banks around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I listened to a really good podcast. I think it's Peter Schiff is the hardcore gold guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he embraces the personality of troll, but yes, he is. That is his
Well,
underlying thesis as gold.
yeah, in that Bitcoin is trash. He was doing a podcast with Peter McCormick, who was in El Salvador while they were recording it. And Peter Schiff's big thing is just like, what is Bitcoin? Nobody's using Bitcoin. Nobody wants to sell an asset. Like, this is all bullshit. It's all a Ponzi. Nobody's using it. And Peter's just like, I literally bought this coffee that I'm holding in my hand with Bitcoin. He goes, yeah, but that's just a coffee. He goes, no, you don't understand. Like, people are using this everywhere now. He goes, no, they're not. He goes, I'm telling you, like, I've only transacted in Bitcoin since I've been here, and it was just one of those things that, like, a lot of the sentiment that gets thrown around is just simply not true. And this is true for Ethereum and Bitcoin and crypto in general.
People get married to narratives, right? Like back 4 years ago, this narrative was valid and Peter Schiff got famous on it. And once your narrative dissolves, especially when it's the foundation of your online personality, it's obviously hard to break away. He should not be listened to in regards to any type of analysis for financial advice. Not that we give it, but neither it does Peter Schiff.
Mm, yeah. So, anyways, enough about that. Moving on, but every time one of these news stories pops up, I do feel a little bit more bullish inside. So, also some pretty crazy news coming out of Axie Infinity was that a land plot sells for a record $2.5 million. Grayscale has valued the wider metaverse at $1 trillion. This is a big play. It's a Genesis plot, the largest in terms of value ever sold on Axie Infinity, and it's. Have you ever played the game?
I've never played Axie Infinity. It's it's farming to an extent with these characters. You have to own a certain character to be able to make their underlying currency, which is called Love Potion. It was selling at a very high premium for a while, as Axie was the talk of the town a few months ago. But, that's a relatively centralized game that uses crypto. Whereas now we're seeing much more decentralized on-chain gaming kind of take the trend away, at least temporarily. But Axie's a force. For a brief period, they were using more of the Ethereum network than anyone, Uniswap or any of them combined. And I think that if you're looking at Metaverse plays right now, you can see all the tokens have gotten pretty frothy. And I think we always talk about, like, what is a governance token, right? It's not a share of profits. And I think people buy tokens thinking it's like a stock, and it's not, because you're not sharing profits with the company. And I know DAOs in a sense are changing that, and it is moving in that direction. But the question is, how do you value a governance token? I think a better play at this point is probably land within these metaverses. These are going to be legitimate $100 billion companies sooner than later. What's the best way to capture that value? If you're not a builder, I would think land right now. So I'm not surprised to see these very large sales, because this digital real estate is going to be really in demand by very large companies very soon. And we know how much they pay for conventional real estate.
Yeah, I think a lot of these things that you're seeing, the purchases in Sandbox. Actually, I completely forgot that I saw this pop up. There was like a super yacht or something in Sand that was just purchased for multi-million-dollars as well. And yeah, like that amount of money seems like a lot. Sorry, I shouldn't say it seems like a lot. It is a lot of money, but to some people, it is a drop in the bucket, and they're more than happy to pay that amount. For the flex, or as an investment piece, or like you said, these big corporations, they'll pay money for high exposure spots. And if you think that like a McDonald's or a Disney isn't going to buy a central piece of land in these metaverse communities, I think you're sorely mistaken, or we just have very different opinions on the metaverse, I guess. But yeah, that's coming, and this is a big signifier of the fact that you can't really stop this train, I don't think.
2022 is going to be a really big coming out year, I believe, for hardware. We've talked about it a lot. We know very large companies like Apple are working on augmented reality and dedicated virtual reality headsets. And whatever you think of these larger companies, we need mass-produced, desirable hardware to really have these things reach their potential. And they will. And I think people buying land right now see that. I think 2022 is going to be a really big year for this. So
yeah, I even saw Meta is working on their haptic feedback gloves, which, if you're unfamiliar with the term, is a gloves that you could wear that actually kind of like lock in place, so that you can get a sense of actually feeling things in a metaverse. I got to be careful what I'm doing with my hands on camera here. No idea where I'm going with that, but yeah, no, it's pretty cool to see the hardware components of it. Maybe start catching up to the realities of these.
I mean, Oculus is pretty big right now, but I know there's some companies with some really slick stuff coming next year.
I still haven't used like a legit VR headset. Like I need to.
I haven't either. I'm not a big fan of Facebook. I know Oculus is the best. I have been mulling whether to get one for Christmas this year, just because DCL's becoming hot. I'd love to go listen to Tropic's next show wearing a virtual reality headset. So I may bite the bullet. I just hope you don't have to like connect it to Facebook or something to get the thing activated. We'll see. Meta, excuse me. Meta.
Oh, Facebook's still Facebook.
Meta is the name of the company now. Pardon me.
Get it right. Okay, so yeah, enough about Axie. We'll move on. WGMI, nothing too crazy going on there. Pretty quiet day in NFTs yesterday, at least on this site. I did actually forget to mention yesterday, or maybe I did. On WGMI, they're doing a free trial of their premium site for the rest of the weekend. So
Oh,
it was,
cool.
yeah, I jumped in there and checked it out. It's pretty cool. I actually don't own a subscription to WGMI. I think it's something that I'll probably end up looking into, but I don't think I'm gonna jump on it right now. But yeah, it was pretty cool showing you your wallet, showing you some of the floor prices of the traits that you have on your certain items. Pretty powerful tool, especially if you're really trying to manage your NFT portfolio in real time. So yeah,
Yes, yeah.
I would
If
go
you're a
check it out if
trader,
you have any interest. Obviously, we have no affiliation with WGMI.io, but it was pretty cool to see it.
I think these tools are invaluable for traders. And we know when you buy and hold, there's less to think about in that respect. But if you're trading regularly, like OpenSea is very primitive. If you were trading stocks the way that you trade NFTs on OpenSea, it would be impossible. So these tools are absolutely necessary if you are a trader or doing any type of MEV work. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking at the 7 day change on WGMI, EtherOrcs having a great week, up from about half an ETH to 1.1 ETH. Definitely on the back of the 20 ETH sale of the Ether God, or sorry, the Orc God, and the Alpha Mint Twitter Spaces that we hosted that I'm going to get uploaded today to share. So nice little run for them. And you actually mentioned that there was some people getting quite involved in it, maybe from Axie?
Yeah, there was a Axie whale. He's known as the Axie whale, who was buying up some high level orcs. Right now, all the orcs that are under 2E are their basic orcs. Like you either have to level them up or they're leveled up as much as they can be, which is to 16 total Zug, which is also plus 12 since they make base 4. Everything above that, these are orcs that earn more than that. So it's obviously going to be more valuable long term. Zug's sitting at $1.50 right now. So the orc gods or the orcs right below them are making $40-$45 a day from each orc right now. So those get a premium. This guy was buying up more today. The rarest non-orc gods in the game are the albinos, and they don't have any special abilities per se. They are just rare because of the albino color. But they have been going for a nice price the last few days too. One went for 5.5. So this one has legs. Some traders have been undercutting the floor the last day as volume slowed down because they bought into the pump the other day. But this is a game that is seeing a lot of accumulation and rotation into.
Yeah, Ether Orcs definitely has a long future ahead of them, and they're not going away anytime soon. I think that floor is just going to continue to rise as the game continues to roll. The big thing on the 7 day change, and it's really only because last Friday was when Wolf Game was minting and minted out. But yeah, that's been a big riser from the mint price of 0.069 to about 3.7 right now. So a great trade still, if that was something you got involved in. I think that's a pretty good segue into talking about Wolf Game, at least the about the founder of Wolf Game.
Yeah, well, the Wolf Game has been needing to do a contract migration, and it's really funny how many of these games launch, and then midway through are like, crap, we need a different type of contract to do what we want to do, so we're going to migrate, or they find a bug or whatever it is. So Wolf Game announced a migration. Now, every migration is different as far as how the company handles what how your NFT gets changed over to the new contract. For this particular situation, you are going to have to go to their website give in your NFTs, change them over to the new ones, and pay the gas. Right now, I don't think any of us feel very bad for these wolf people who have all made, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on this game, paying their gas. But the creator offloaded $15 million of ETH onto Coinbase as a payday for himself while he's asking people who are playing his game to pay this gas. So maybe not a great look on his part.
Yeah, I think that there's an element to timing these moves, right? Yeah, right when you're in the middle of transitioning from the one side of your game to the other, as you said, they're transitioning to a different contract, which is going to get pricey for people. And you mentioned that a lot of people are doing pretty well on this game, so it shouldn't be like a violin situation. But yeah, it's just a tough look to say like, hey, we're doing this, you got to do this, you're gonna have to switch over, it's gonna cost you a bit of money, but don't worry about me, like I got mine, happy Thanksgiving y'all, and then kind of fuck off. I don't know.
The only umbrage we've ever taken with Wolf Game, because I think everybody in Alpha is a fan of this meta and all these games, and the art is kind of cool, even though it's not PFPable or whatever. Our only problem has been that it's been a bit of an influencer pump and cash grab the whole time. And this just plays right into that whole idea that this team really is just trying to make a bunch of money off a bunch of people. And there was nothing particularly revolutionary about the game. And they spent 3 days talking about how it was a pioneer and all this type of stuff. So I'm just wondering whether they understood the optics of that being the narrative, and then doing something like offloading $15 million while you're asking your players. Nobody nobody likes these migrations. Like, whether you pay or not, people don't like, you kill momentum. People get nervous because it's a lot of money. They then have to change over to a new contract. You really want it to be as smooth as possible. In fact, when Orcs did it, we were given Zug as an example, right? And it was one Zug, which is not worth a lot at the time, but back then Zug was worth like $2,000 each or something, because of it was still in the org minting phase or whatever. So and Kaijus ended up migrating the contract. You didn't pay anything, and you got this now extra value of this failed experiment NFT or whatever. It seems like Wolfgame went the opposite direction. The migration is uncomfortable, and then they do something just optically stupid in the middle of it. No one's mad at this guy for making money and taking it off, but just, think about your project, your community, and the optics of your moves before you make them.
Yeah, and I have to agree fully in there. I don't care that this guy made $15 million. Like, great for him. That's awesome. Yeah. He launched a very, very successful project. But again, like, and there will be a lot of people that be like, optics, blah blah blah. It's all just like it does matter. I just want to highlight the tweet that you sent out, and I've kind of got pulled up here, but he basically says, oh sorry, this is just a random person on Twitter. So since the creator has cashed out over 15 million in ETH to their Coinbase from the project, will they be covering gas fees to claim the NFTs that people already bought from them, or should they dump more money to get NFTs just to have the rule change again? I mean, it was interesting. He found this transaction, and it was an important find. But again, I don't agree with him that like they should have to cover people's gas fees. It would have been a very nice nice thing to do, I guess. But it's kind of weird to obligate people into that. But again, we're talking about the optics.
Again, and it's not even the optics of the act in a vacuum. It's all the stuff leading up to it. You could see players are grumpy with how many times the rules have changed and that the ground has moved from underneath them. So it's never one thing, right? It's always
that's true.
Right. It's a combination of things that lead to behavior and consequences that weren't necessarily expected in the.
I'm kind of forgetting the fact that they had to cut off the initial minting phase of with wool. The initial supply was supposed to be 50,000, which was one of the reasons why I opted to stay out of it, just because in the short term trade, it was a great flip. But as you start to dump huge amounts of supply onto the market, it might not look that way. They cut it off at 13,000 because they had an issue with their contract, and instead of being able to fix it, they just said, "No, we're shutting it off now." And with the hype this project has, suddenly a 13,000 NFT supply seems a little bit more juicy. And that's my own fault. I'm not blaming it on them, but yeah, you're right. The rules have changed a whole bunch, and they continue to do so. Yeah, it will be fun to watch where it ends up going in the grand scheme of things.
Like, the people who got in early probably don't really care, of course. It's the people who saw this as the phenomena it was and bought cheap at 5E or more who are now like, well, are you taking this game to the next level? Because we just need to get even at this point, right?
I guess it's if you zoom out a little bit too and go back to Beanie's shilling of the Bloot and the B Gold
Yeah.
token, there was a pretty substantial rug that happened with that as well. And maybe, this project that Beanie's been shilling and the founder all of a sudden is extracting $15 million out of it kind of has shades of that too, as I'm kind of just, thinking and talking through the situation.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, anyways, Wolf Game does actually continue to roll on. I saw in the voice chat, or sorry, the AM show chat, whereas Omar asked what we think of the AVAX version of the game. I guess somebody has ported it over to the Avalanche network, and they call it fixed Avalanche fork of popular but broken Wolf Game. I have, I not only was I not aware of this, I have no insight into it. We don't, we typically stay focused on the Ethereum chain only just because it requires a full-time amount of attention. But if anybody else has some insight or you want to come up and talk about it on the open mic session, by all means.
And, just remember that if all of these are Ponzi's, all these derivatives are Ponzi's of Ponzi's. Like, it just gets harder and harder to make money on these things. These derivatives are huge gambles. I'm actually going to talk about one that I find kind of interesting a little later in the show, but they're all very, very large gambles. Porting things over to other chains that are exact copies, that reeks of Solana, which is down 18.2% today.
Do you want to
on a regular basis? What?
do do you want to move on to that now? We don't have a ton more conversations to have.
Yeah. Sure. So, well, there's a very cool game that I thought popped up. I saw the art. It was called Kong Game, right? And I saw it because all of a sudden on Twitter it just popped up. Kaiju Kings are whitelisted for 100 spots. So, this is a popular tactic of games right now, to whitelist, obviously, communities that they know are reputable and are communities that like games. So this game called Kong Game was whitelisting Kaiju Kings, and I hopped over to the Discord to see what was going on, and there were a lot of big names verifying. They're currently at like 7,600 members, which honestly is a little tame for these type of games, which can like build to 20,000 in a day when the right people hype them and that type of thing. But it's kind of they're calling it Kongs versus Kaijus, and they don't mean Kaiju Kings. And they don't mean Cyber Kongs. This is a new Kong that lives on Skull Island, and the Kaijus are bugs, which I guess is what a Kaiju is in Japanese monster lore. And these bugs come to Skull Island, and they have a deal with the Kongs. The Kongs let them harvest food, but the Kaiju have to share 20% with the Kongs. So food is the token, FOOD. There just seem to be a lot of big names, like Sneaky Ninja Pants, and now I'm forgetting who else it was. I took a few screenshots. But the whitelist now is Neo Tokyo, Cyber Kongs, and Kaiju Kings. I believe it's all filled up. for those spots, but they are giving whitelist spots to people for engagement and stuff like that. And the art's kind of cool. I'll drop the Discord in the AM chat, but I thought what was interesting is I think these guys they're taking elements of what's hot in the market right now, creating a game around it. It doesn't look completely low effort. So I'm interested to see. It's a really low mint, 0.02. It is the same format as Wolf Game, like that ramping up to 50,000 supply or whatever. So who knows if they can strike twice, Lightning can strike twice with that exact same model. But their roadmap is a little different and interesting. You should actually go check it out because it's too long for me to read, and I'll drop the chat there. But the art's kind of cute. So that was it. Kong game.
Yeah, awesome. Hadn't seen that yet. I didn't know if I was putting you on the spot there by dropping that, but it sounds pretty cool, and I like the communities that you're dropping. So
yeah, I'll throw that in the chat. That's all. So
yeah, for sure.
AMA now.
No, I mean a couple small things. It just felt like a good segue if that's what you were headed towards. You were mixing it up with Tropo Farmer and Shamdu on Twitter yesterday or last night, I guess.
Yeah.
You linked to. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, or?
I guess I was a little triggered, so to say. There was a guy who I guess is starting his own project, and he seems to have. I mean, he has 17,000 followers, so he's not a small name himself.
So
I guess
I'm gonna read the tweet just for some context,
sure,
and then let you rip on it. So this guy, 8-bit Don, Don Soprano, he's got about 19,000 or 17,000 followers on Twitter, so not a small guy, but not massive. He tweeted out yesterday with a screenshot, and the tweet said, "The NFT space was supposed to be a community that supports and nurtures promising projects with the hope that we are going to make it. Seems that a PFP and some followers has gone to some people's head," with a little crying, laughing emoji. 3 ETH for a tweet. At Tropo Farmer with 87,000 followers. And then he goes on to say, hashtag NFT community should be NFT conglomerate. He posted a private DM that he had with Tropo. It's a little bit cut off, so there's a little bit of a lack of context that he's providing, but the assumption is that he's asking Tropo to help promote his project, which I haven't even really looked into, honestly. So the first message is Tropo says, "I appreciate it, but a tweet is worth way more than 1 mint." And then the guy says, what do you usually charge? And then Tropo responds with 3 ETH. And then 8-bit Don responds with, "That deserves a tweet itself, LMAO." I think that this 8-bit Don guy was doing a little bit of a I got you moment and trying to drum up some controversy on Twitter, saying, these guys are all greedy, help me with my project. But yeah, let's be realistic. 1 mint for a tweet from somebody with almost 100,000 followers. Take it away.
Yeah, I mean that's what kind of what triggered me reading this guy's stuff is he's trying to frame this as like people should be doing it for the space. I hate this kind of like kumbaya bullshit, especially when the guy's obviously using now this opportunity to market himself and market his project or whatever. But to expect somebody like Tropo to do anything, these guys understand how valuable. They don't have to shill anything directly. If Tropo even followed the project, that would trigger off a lot of alerts where people would all of a sudden start paying attention to it. A direct tweet about it, of course these guys should charge for it. And, there's a certain amount of risk in these type of things as well. So I think that it's really it was a little egregious of the guy to both expect him to do it for, and I love how Tropo framed it, a worthless mint, because come on, I mean, even if you offered him 10 mints, like there's no guarantee this project's gonna mint out and do well, even if Tropo it's for it necessarily. And what is a worthless mint to him, right? So it triggered me off a little bit, and I did respond saying, I love how this guy is I can't figure out how this is for the space and not just for his wallet. Was basically kind of my response after Shamdu had also jumped in and was like, 3 ETH is a deal for somebody with Tropos following. He should be charging 5. You're lucky you're even in his DMs, was basically Shamdu's response.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we've talked about a bit about the pseudonymous kind of economy that exists within NFTs. Like Tropo Farmer that is his identity. It's not, John Smith behind the NFT. Like he is Tropo Farmer. Shamdu is Shamdu. They've built up followings. They've built up reputation around those followings. And when you are approaching these people asking for some kind of promotion, those tweets, as you mentioned, come with risk, right? There's the risk that the founder rugs. There's the risk that the project is just shit. There's the risk that the project gets hacked and gets scammed. And when somebody like Tropo or Mev or Shamdu, these big names, attach themselves to these projects, they are running a reputational risk with their name being associated with it. If this project that 8-Bit Don ends up doing has a Discord hack and, 200 ETH are stolen, whether Tropo had anything to do with it or not, his name is still going to get mudded, right? And it's really important to understand that in the a transactional way, that with that risk also has to come reward. And I'm sorry, but offering somebody one free mint that's really at the end of the day not going to cost you anything is not really a good reward proposition for that reputational risk. 3 ETH sounds like a lot of money, but if he accepted 3 ETH and this project was some kind of absolute like big, disaster in the NFT space, well, I mean, you probably kiss his reputation goodbye too. And, how much potential earning power does he have in the future? I mean, this guy just angled it as he has a PFP and a couple followers. Like, what the fuck? Who the fuck is he? But let's not forget that he actually reached out and asked him to promote the project in the first place. So, but I thought it was an interesting discussion. I thought it was it does seem like a crazy amount of money to be asking for people in terms of promotion and whatnot. But when you really kind of drill down into what promoting something means, you have to be compensated appropriately.
People look to Tropo for alpha. Whether it is, we all say NFA and all that stuff, but let's be honest, when we're following large influencers in the NFT space, it's because we're hoping that they will, let us know about something before other people get there, right? That is the whole game. It's like, who's going to leak the alpha or whatever, and he knows that. And I mean, not only should he be compensated for that quid pro quo, but there's the huge reputational risk when your entire, reason for being is recommending things people are kind of going to gamble on, right? So it's this guy just comes off as slimy to me. 17,000 followers be damned.
Yeah, that one kind of rubbed me the wrong way too. So I'm right there with you in your response. And well, I mean, let's see how his project does. I'm not even going to talk about it. Not that we are the market movers. I don't mean it in that regard, but like I haven't done any research on it, and I don't even feel like bringing it to your attention if that's the case. Last but not least, we have the Littles. The presale did jump off sometime in the last 12 hours.
Yes, last night. I'm in the Discord and I got the everyone ping that the pre-sale had gone live, and it hadn't been a few minutes later that a Alpha Mint Moon Lounge member, I don't know if he wants to be shouted out. I think he does, but I don't want to blow his spot up. But a Alpha Mint Moon Lounge member dropped a link to the testnet. So if you guys don't know what the testnet is, when you're launching an NFT project, you have to know whether your contract's going to work, how it's going to look on OpenSea, all that stuff that would normally go into testing. So OpenSea has a test net for projects to do this. Now, there's obviously people snooping it constantly, looking for alpha, whether it's leaked metadata or, just getting an idea of what the project's going to look like, whether it's going to be any good or not. So a few minutes after the pre-sale went live, this leak on the testnet of what seemed to be the entire Littles mint. You could see every mint that I forget how many, I think it's a 10,000 PFP project. Everyone was there, and everybody was going through them and picking out their favorite ones. They looked fabulous. I mean, we can't deny that. Everybody in the room was in love with them. And I quickly went to Twitter to tweet out the news. I didn't put out the link or any of the leaks because I like the project. I didn't want to hurt them in any way. But it was then after that, people were wondering, well, does the metadata link up to what was sold in the pre-sale? Because as we know, people try to see if metadata leaks early so they can snipe rares, because during the pre-reveal, they all have that one if there, and it's a gamble whether you buy the rare or not. Well, if this was a true metadata link, people can figure out what they got, see if they could dump and try to buy new ones. The creator of the project, Will, commented on my thread in technicalese, which I don't understand as much. I'm not a technical guy. This is one way Alpha Mint's really valuable to me. I mean, I'm an NFT historian and trader, and I've been in for a few years, but I am not a technical guy. I don't know coding. And that's where Alpha Mint really helps me out, because we have so many good, technically minded engineers in there who instantly know what's going on. And it seemed that it did not link to the metadata. As far as I can tell, nobody was paying up last night for Littles, which means nobody knew where the rares were. So I think they're sitting at a 0.5 floor now. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, what a successful pre-sale. It is the hot ticket of the day. I know the public sale goes live later today. The floor is 0.5. The mint is 0.125, so you can expect the miners to take that 0.375 premium from you. It looks like that's probably what they're going to be minting at this evening.
Yeah, the gas is going to be crazy on it. So if you're getting into it, it is a maximum of 2 per transaction. So you're looking at about a quarter of an ETH, 0.25. And I would expect that to be at least double in terms of with the gas included. So you're going to be looking at throwing a better part of an ETH at this project. But like we talked about this quite in depth. I think it was yesterday or sometime earlier this week. I don't want to say criticized Will, but we did highlight the fact that he did make that thread about what it takes to make a successful NFT. There was some interesting thinking out loud that he did. He was originally thinking about pricing it at 0.25 per mint, which is really high. But despite all of that, it looks like this is going to mint out. I shouldn't say it looks like it's going to mint out. This thing is going to mint out. 5,700 of them have been minted out of, I think, 6,900 total for the pre-sale. Presale is ending at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, and then the public sale is going live directly after, as far as I can tell. And yeah, the floor did get up to as high as 0.6 on pre-reveal, and sitting at 620 ETH volume already sold pre-reveal. So this thing is no idea what the trajectory of it's going to be, but it looks like they are going to be cashing in the better part of $10 to $12 million, depending on how ETH does over the next little bit.
It was interesting because when we reported this on the show a few days ago, we did a little pearl clutching. I mean, we weren't mad necessarily with it, but we were like, wow, that is an aggressive move. But ballsy. I said very plainly, it's aggressive. I think they'll get it, and I think they'll sell out. There was obviously something about this project that there was a there. They weren't really telling us what. There were some hints on their Twitter the last few days that they are partnering with big projects like Kongs and Kaiju Kings. Now, what does that mean? Kongs and Kaiju Kings both have their own utility tokens. It seems, which are bananas and are waste, by the way. It seems like the Littles is going to be an arcade metaverse where you can play different games in this arcade with your utility tokens from all these other projects. This is something I've dreamed about for a while. Like whether it's an arcade or a casino or a poker table, the idea that I could sit down with Zug or bananas or Chief and play like their any other type of currency is like a metaverse dream for me. This seems to, if not be the entire project, at least one amazingly interesting aspect of it. I think it's going to have legs. I'm not going to predict any short-term price movement, but if you can get in for a good price on a piece you like, I think there's a lot of smoke under the surface of this project, and it's going to be fire.
Yeah, definitely going to be something to watch and something to recap over on the Monday show to see how that goes
Yeah.
down.
I mean, a lot of big mints this weekend, to be honest. We got the Littles public sale tonight. You got Swampverse pre-sale
Yeah.
starting tomorrow. I think it's going to last 24 hours. This is a really large Discord, 53,000 members. I think maybe the only knock is that they've been around so long, it feels like a little bit of the hype has gone to other projects like the Littles that we just mentioned. But they are a huge Discord with a very large following. I am whitelisted there. I will be minting my 3. It's a 0.06 mint for 10,000 or 9,500 frogs. So half the price of the Littles. There is going to be gamification, a DAO, a token. They check all those boxes. So that pre-sales tomorrow. And then CloneX, the snapshot for those very expensive pre-sale NFTs, which we have been talking on this show about for weeks, is going to be happening starting at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time today. So if you're watching like the FIWO shoes or the FIWO drip or any of those other NFTs, you may be able to watch in real time as they fall 90%, as most of the bonus NFTs will be given a special mint pass airdrop to their wallet. But the snapshot is happening today in a few hours, and CloneX pre-sale is begins the 27th as well, which is tomorrow. So a lot of big mints this weekend.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot to talk about on Monday, so it's a pretty exciting time. Is there? I got a couple of things that I want to talk about before we go into the Q&A session. But is there anything else NFT related that you want to finish off on?
Oh, I think that was it.
Yeah, a lot that we ended up talking about there.
Woo.
So yeah,
Yeah.
exciting stuff. So yeah, I also just want to mention we have 50 in the audience right now. Our all-time high is 52. So get a couple friends in here and let's break that. I was expecting this to be a bit of a slower day, and it has not been. So I thank you all for tuning in. The other thing I kind of wanted to highlight really quickly was that I mentioned before that we're looking at better ways to kind of welcome some new faces into the Alpha Mint Moon Lounge, especially as the volume has gotten pretty crazy on the passes. So for anybody new that's joining right now, I am manually adding them as a second kind of role that says like a new Moon Lounge member. And what that's going to give you access to is a little side channel that is just for other people that have that role, as well as the Alpha Mint mods and team. So this should give you a pretty good space to interact with us in a little bit more of a quiet space. The DGen Dojo does kind of pick up in, in volume as members are awake, and it can be hard to keep up with, and things kind of get messy. Also, with a lot of like the Discord hacks and stuff that's happening, DMs can be a little bit dodgy to deal with for you and for us. So we thought the best course of action was going to be making a little side room for you all. So if you look in the Alpha Mint Moon Lounge category on the left, there's going to be new lounge members. Please feel free to take advantage of that. You can ask any questions you want about AlphaMint, NFTs, even just kind of engage with some other newer members and kind of get your footing. You do, of course, have access to everything that you've bought when you've purchased the pass. So feel free to jump into the dojo as well, or the project chats. I'm also going to be working on today some new videos for you guys to kind of highlight where to go, what you're looking for. It could be pretty overwhelming. There's a lot of different channels. It's straightforward once you learn it all, but the learning curve is there. So we're gonna do everything we can to make sure that you get the most out of your pass. It was kind of funny because over the past 2 days, the volume on the passes did kind of slow down, and we only had a couple people sign up in over the span of about 48 hours. And I don't want to say it was a relief, but there was kind of part of us that was just like, okay, we can kind of like, let's catch our footing now. Let's get all of this done up and make sure that we're handling it properly. And then I woke up this morning and we had sold almost 20 more passes. And this was just like overnight while I was asleep. So that's very exciting, and we appreciate that everybody has found their way here. But again,
we released 111 passes. Was it last week?
On Sunday, yeah.
On Sunday, and there are, as of now, 42 passes left. The number of life, as we know from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there are 42 left.
Our listener base is probably too young to even
get that reference.
Get that.
42 guys.
I'm just a little bit of a correction. There's actually only 20 left, which is outstanding. Yeah. No, seriously.
We sold 20 while I was making that joke.
No, but yeah. So the 20 left. For anybody that's listening that's worried that they might not get in, this is only our second wave. We do have a total of 1,111 passes that will be available. So we're only at 222 created right now, so there's going to be a lot. We do like to take just a little bit of a breather in between waves so that we can make sure that we're delivering all of the value that we need to the community that has already jumped on board. But I promise you there will be lots of time to join up if you are worried about that. And there was a lot of people actually talking about a gas war when we launched our mint passes on Sunday. I could assure you, as much as that's very flattering to us, but we're not moving that much weight right now, so don't worry about that whatsoever. But yeah, a very, very exciting time for AlphaMint and for us. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for being here with us. I also kind of just had a call to action to try and get us all-time high of 52, and people actually left after I said that. So
we hit it for
thank you so much, you assholes. No. With that being said, we will open it up to the Q&A session now. If you want to jump up and talk about anything that we discussed, anything you're looking forward to, just saying hi, always happy to do that. And a regular guest that we have up here now is Cass. So GM Cass.
Good morning, Sir Cass.
Morrow says, how are you now on this wonderful after Thanksgiving morning?
Yeah, we're doing
Amazing. Yeah, feeling great.
No, that's good, man. A little bit annoyed. I was a little bit annoyed, to be fair, with not with you guys, but with just information that you guys. No, never you guys. Never.
I was like, oh my god,
Yeah,
no.
We had such a good conversation yesterday, and
no, it was never that. No, it was just what you were saying in regards of the Littles and what you perceive them to do, which has kind of done my nutting really, because the project that I'm working on, or having to kind of relive or revamp or whatever the frick I'm doing with it, that was the idea and concept. A bit more, but that was the idea and concept. And it's done my nutting, because what we've been doing is collecting all these gaming NFTs, both P2P and PvP. And then create that, because I gather in about a year's time or 2 years' time, these NFTs, that the first gaming NFTs or the first batch of gaming NFTs or the first batch of anything else, is going to be really, really expensive for everyone or the masses to get into. So it was a way of using our token to allow our users to play those games. But yeah, like,
Oh, that sounds really
Yeah,
cool. We'll have to.
that's how it is.
Yeah, that's amazing. I like I said, that's been a dream of mine since utility tokens have been introduced. As a former online poker player, as the majority of my time, that was instantly where my mind went. I'm like, wait a minute, poker games in DCL using my utility, using Zug. This is it. This is a dream.
Well, this is it because we ended up buying a whole heap of stuff. Like we bought Sherbet recently because of the whole casino aspect of it, and it was a cheap entry in.
Yeah.
We bought CMY Cat because again, I think later on down the line they could make a nice movement. Because I think the problem with CMY Cat is everyone's just too what's the word I'm looking for? They just expect Rome to be built in a day. So yeah, that's with them. Zugs, not Zugs, the Ether Orcs, because first ever online blockchain 100%, which I've got to thank you guys for introducing me to. But yeah, we've been collecting these games, and also we bought three or four littles yesterday to actually incorporate with what we're doing.
Very nice.
Yeah, so we managed to get out 0.4, 0.4, yeah, 0.4. I think it went down to about 0.3 last night, but couldn't get hold of it because someone put way too much gas on it. And yeah, so a little bit annoyed, but hey, that's life.
There's plenty of.
Yeah, it just means you just have to work harder, innit?
I liked how you called the Ether Orcs the Zugs though. Like I'm thinking of like some kind of like sitcom or movie that's like meet the Zugs, which is like a orc family or something.
Potential here, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I think we need to pitch a YouTube show or something with the orc team for like a Meet the Zugs.
No question.
Another thing as well with the VR headsets. Yeah, you're right. I do believe that hardware is going to be the big thing for 2022.
Yeah.
And I don't really see Sandbox stopping. Decentraland 50. Decentraland just reminds me of Pepsi, where Sandbox just reminds me of Coca-Cola. And there's just way too many people jumping into Sandbox at the moment. Way too many. I mean, we bought Ireland. I think it was about 2 ETH. To the Kongs. You know, the Kongs right on the map. We managed to get it for 2 ETH, and someone offered us, I think it was about 9 ETH the other day for it.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So, but we're holding on to it because we believe that later, when everything that our vision comes to play, they're going to be worth silly money. I
think anytime something becomes the hot trend like this, and I think, you know, Facebook changing to Meta and the Metaverse being the topic of conversation, years of gains are going to be pulled forward into these names. We see it in every sector, in every market, that once the public understands the potential of an idea, they get too excited and they pull a ton of the games forward. And this is gains forward. And this is obviously happening now in the Metaverse plays like DCL, like Mana, and like Sand. But if you have a long-term view on these things, and I really think it could be beneficial too, because these are new paradigms, right? These aren't short-term trends. And if you have a long-term view, I think you can sit here and hold these things. But certainly we are developing froth in the idea of what is this metaverse, especially since we're so early. I mean, these are the early days of the web, you know, 1992, 1993, that type of thing. So
I'm sorry, I was muted.
I think sometimes.
No, I just wanted to. Go. Yeah, please, Casco.
I was just going to be in the group. I think I've watched too many. I've watched Wreck-It Ralph, Matrix,
yes,
and Ready Player One. And I'm kind of putting my head towards that. I think, but
hell yeah,
I still haven't seen Ready Player One. I think that's also one of those ones I have to watch.
Dude, you have to. Penny would just drop.
No, it's great, but Wreck-It Ralph is a fabulous example too. I mean, if that didn't hit every nostalgic sweet spot, and basically put what we think of the metaverse like into an actual working prototype with this movie. If you haven't seen Wreck-It Ralph, it's a Disney movie. Go watch it this weekend. It's on all the streaming services. It is what I think the gaming metaverse can be very soon.
Yeah, I actually did look for Ready Player One on a streaming service the other day, and at least in Canada, I couldn't find it. So I'll have to wait for that to come out, or maybe I'll just bite the bullet and rent it or buy it on Prime. But yeah, it looked pretty cool. Oh, is that? Oh,
I'm just no.
I actually really quickly wanted to jump back to a question that Shubang asked in the AM show chat about the metaverse. You know, and why we think that this stuff has value when these big companies could just build their own metaverse, right? And I mean, it's a valid point. It's a valid question. I think that that's something that Facebook or now Meta, I guess, is looking to do. But you know, I kind of liken these things to cities. I mean, I know that they kind of are virtual cities, but you know, Pepsi or Coke, as kind of Cass brought up, they, you know, they're not starting their own cities to onboard their drinkers into, right? But they will happily buy video screen or billboard space in Times Square to throw that in everybody's face. So I think that this is just, you know, big companies are just going to where all of the people are. So if they're in Sand, if they're in Decentraland, or if they're in whatever Meta ends up coming out with, you know, that land and that real estate within there is going to be valuable. In the same way that, you know, Los Angeles and Chicago and Toronto and London, England, and all of that have very valuable real estate, because that's just the desirable place, and where, you know, people have decided that that's where they want to congregate, right?
And I'm not sure normies are ever going to pay. Like, I don't think Steve Cohen is ever going to pay $10 million for a rare Peppy. But I do think rare Peppies are always going to be worth $10 million, or whatever the inflation rate is, you know, whatever in the future. And there are just certain assets that are always going to be appealing to crypto specific, crypto native people. And that's why I think these things could retain value. We've created the largest wealth transfer in history. I expect crypto people to stay worldly and wealthy for a very long time. And that's why I think things like DCL and Sand will have legs. It's first mover advantage with the builders, right? The reason I think Apple has always been successful is because Apple was the tool that builders used, right? Movies and graphic design and all that stuff, a lot of it tended to be on Macs. I know it's changed now. I'm talking about why Apple originally was who they were. It tended to be where builders were, and people follow the builders. You know, they want to emulate these people that they look up to, whether it's, you know, entertainment or building and design. And that's why I think that DCL and Sand can be successful. They're important to the people who build, and the people who build are important to the masses.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And the other like kind of thing to remember is, you know, there are people like crypto native people that you know, through $10,000 into the Ethereum ICO, right? Which, and you know, depending on how many sold or peeled off, you're looking at like 9 figures of wealth. Like, we're talking in the hundreds of millions of dollars worth of wealth that's created. And when you're in that kind of situation where the upsized returns are, or the outsized returns are so astronomical, and you're in that upper echelon of wealth class, all of a sudden, you know, a $1 or $2 million or a $10 million asset, and it is an asset, is pretty palatable, especially as we get into the realm of being able to collateralize these and take out real world loans against them. There is nothing wrong with a $10 million piece of land in Decentraland,
You know,
honestly. And if it goes to zero for them, I hate to say that it's not a big deal, but for somebody like that that's able to drop that kind of money or crypto on something, it's not going to be the end of their world.
Right. And, you know, we hear all the time statements like mint LeBron James rookie card worth $1 million. It's only worth $1 million to a few hundred people on the planet. And that's never going to change, right? It's not worth $1 million to the masses, and it's the same thing here. This digital land isn't ever going to be worth that much to most people, but it will to the people who matter, who have a lot of money, who are very wealthy, and I think will continue to get wealthier as well.
Sure. Yeah, it's a fascinating topic that we could go on for probably days about, and where it came from, where it's going, and how far along we think we are in it. But I think we'll save that for a whole probably show or something at some point. I've started making a list actually of things that I think we could do really cool podcast style stuff on it. I know that you've been kind of thinking about it too, so lots more to come in terms of that. If anybody else wants to throw their hand up and jump up onto the stage, let me know. We'll probably chat for another 5-10 minutes if anybody wants to come up, and if not, that is okay too. But yeah, it peaked at just over 50 listeners today. That's super exciting, and like I said, I thought today was going to be maybe a bit of a snoozer as people kind of are food comatose. I shouldn't pretend like America or North America is the only place in the world.
I wish they could have charted the NFT market over what I think was travel time and downtime for Thanksgiving. Because if you look at it, right, it had been steadily going down as everybody was traveling home to whatever destination they were going to for Thanksgiving. Everyone got home, they settled in, they kissed their parents, they went to their childhood room, they opened their laptop, they logged on to OpenSea. We saw a lot of volume and a lot of projects all of a sudden last night as people are in their hometowns and had nothing to do. The next day, it's Thanksgiving. There's really, no one could be at their computers. You got to go hang out with the fam. And volume died on a few projects until we got to the Littles, which is a very hype drop. Thanksgiving dinner was over. Everybody locked on again. And now we have the long weekend with all these high profile drops. Everybody relaxing on vacation, nothing to do. I think you could chart that right over the NFT market and see the peaks and troughs based on that.
Yeah, seeing this market and this space over a multi-year period, long weekends tend to have a bit of a dip. I'm not saying like it's always a tradable dip or anything like that, and it's not 100% of the time. But yeah, as people start to kind of move away from their computers, there needs to be a constant buy pressure in terms of volume to kind of keep prices up, right? And then waking up this morning to those kind of drops in volume and drop in price did not surprise me in the least, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think later tonight and then tomorrow, I think we're going to go live voice chat for the Littles Mint.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
A lot of people are going to want help with gas during that mint. Scott posted I think it was Scott, don't quote me, posted a really helpful thread in the DGen Dojo last night about how to change your max fees and your prio fees and the best way to approach a gas war. So if Scott will post that again, if not, I will find it. I'll even post it in the general for anybody, and we will go voice chat in the Moon Lounge for the Littles drop. And then Swampverse as well. It's only the pre-sale tomorrow. But those are the two kind of hot public drops this weekend that if people out there want help with getting into their first gas war, we'll go live on voice chat for that.
Yeah, that's really exciting, and it should be really helpful for anybody that's newer to minting. And we haven't seen a ton of gas wars in the last couple weeks. There have been some, but it is very important to know what you're getting into when you're trying to mint these really, really highly hyped projects, because if you're not willing to jam on the gas a little bit, then it's probably more advisable that you even just pick up on secondary and pay the premium rather than just potentially losing gas and walking away empty-handed, right? Again, that's your own risk tolerance and your own call, but helping to walk you through this process and the kind of the pros and cons of doing each are highly advised. And honestly, this is why you see secondary sales pre-reveal, like between the pre-sale and the main sale, is just because there are people that don't want to get into a gas war. There are people that want to load up on these even more than just the 2 per transaction, because I don't know, it's going to be hard for anybody with the hype that this has to get more than 1 transaction in. It's probably going to sell out within a couple blocks, right? And so
Yeah.
Unless you're doing it from multiple wallets at the same time, which runs its own risks. Yeah, like, there's a reason why that premium is being paid right now when the mint is still looming, right? And it is for pretty much an amalgamation of all of those reasons.
Yeah, this is without question going to be the first gas war of recent memory, at least for a high-profile drop versus these tiny, like, gen art or random things that happen. But yeah, and then Swampverse, I'm not sure if it'll be a gas war. I don't know where the hype train is on that one anymore, even though they have a really, really large Discord. And then CloneX is a Dutch auction. So that one won't be as intense, but anyone getting in on that one, I'm not sure if it's going to be a great trade. We'll have to analyze that one. I want to see what the pre-sales do. We'll see if those pre-sales get up to 4 or 5 which is what the qualifying NFTs were implying as we sit here pre-snapshot. So there could be some good voice chats this weekend.
Yeah.
You should hop on and participate.
Just as kind of like a little conversation while we're going to wrap up the show, like, if the pre-sale is sitting at 4 or 5 ETH on the secondary, and the Dutch auction starts at 3 ETH, it'll really be interesting to see if it sells out in that first round too.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'll give a prediction that you should take with a grain of salt and not use as financial advice, but I think it's going to mint out between 2 and 1.5, somewhere in there. And I do think that during the 2 days of pre-reveal, it can get up to 5 or 6 ETH each. I think people are going to be surprised at the mainstream hype that starts to build for these things over the weekend from people who aren't in the NFT space. These guys have been quiet and coy, and I believe there are reasons for that.
Where did Mecca end up falling pre-sale? That pre-reveal story, that got up to what, 9?
6.5. I don't know if the floor was 9. If it was, wow. And that's
it was
why
pre-reveal though, right?
Yeah, pre-reveal, right.
Yeah.
And that's why I do believe these could get up to 6 as well. Wow. 9 ETH floor on Mecca pre-reveal.
Yeah. It was wild.
Wow. I told people don't understand the pull Artifact has, and Artifact doesn't talk about it. So I'm not surprised. Like, the only reason there seems like there's hype, especially if you're in the Moon Lounge, is because you have me and the young King Tropics, who's a mod there, constantly talking about it. But we'll see. I do think this is going to be a special drop. I hope it works out for my sake and anyone else who is financially tied to CloneX.
So before we wrap this up, I just have one final question for you. Have you been speaking to your lawyer recently?
My lawyer?
No, you've just dropped the not financial advice multiple times this show, and it's a stark contrast to the normal, like, I'm calling it right now, CloneX is going to 18.
So here's my quick story on that, right? I am at 1,999 followers on Twitter right now, so if anyone listening wants to be 2,000, go for it. But
are you really, eh?
I have been on Twitter for 10 years. And
you just hit it. Congratulations. Live on the show, 2,000 followers for free market, doubling the first 10 years of your existence on Twitter in a mere month.
Right. Well, I've been talking futures, like S&P futures on Twitter for years, and stocks as well. And like, NFA has obviously been a part of FinTwit long before it was a part of crypto Twitter. And it's like, you end up saying it so much. I ended up making a thread one year I completely forgot about, like, I'm always talking my bags. Nothing I ever say should be like I shouldn't have to say that after every goddamn statement I make. Always assume nothing anybody ever says is financial advice. I know there are legal reasons you have to say it, but it would get annoying after a while. Like, you followed me on Twitter for years. You understand I'm just going through what goes through my head as I trade markets. I'm not making financial advice for anybody out there. That's all. So, thank you.
Mic drop. Congrats on 2K, man.
Thanks.
I have no doubt that you'll be at 5K with the quality of your tweets. And oh god, honestly, like, I could see you doing it by the end of the year, if I'm being honest with you.
Thank you, sir.
Especially when you're getting the knocks from Tropo and Shamdu, and you're getting in there with them too. So,
yeah, man.
I actually, let's see, I think I was just under. I'm at 498. So my own shameless shill. If anyone wants to get me to 500.
Are you kidding? You know how long it took me to get to 500 before? Yeah. Long ago. That's very impressive, sir.
I started only. Well, I don't know. When did I start on NFTs? Maybe 2 months ago.
All of us near round numbers. That Star Wolves account that I keep getting notification tweets from looks like it's near a round number too, huh?
8,000. Yeah. Hey, I should do a little drop your Twitter thread and no, honestly, in the Moon Lounge, and have everybody do some following. So maybe we'll do that. Anyways, we can wrap it up from there. I'll get the recording up on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts as soon as possible, and you guys can listen if you tuned in late or if you miss any shows. Obviously, they are all there, and be on the lookout for our interview that we did with the Bad Bunnies and the Ether.org team on Wednesday night. That is going up today as well. So if any of you missed that, great listens. Definitely not trying to be biased there, but great conversations we had with them. So anything you want to leave us with?
Happy holidays. Good luck at the tables. Big day, everybody. Littles tonight. We'll see you later.
Yeah, happy holidays, Thanksgiving, and we'll do it again on Monday. Cheers, guys.